ideas from the Learning Commons and how she will share how to use videos in the classroom. So take it away, Cynthia.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
I'm going to sit here, to be honest. That way maybe we can have more of a conversation about it. What I'm actually going to talk about is how to use student-created videos as a part of your curriculum. If you can't hear me, please let me know.
Oh, yeah.
Deb didn't touch it. I said, if you can't hear me, please let me know.
I didn't hear you.
Okay. The 2014 Horizon Report for higher ed listed the shift from students as consumers to students as creators as one of the mid-level shifts. In other words, they expect that to reach the tipping point within 3 to 5 years. So instead of students simply sitting and learning their material or reading without doing anything with the knowledge, is going to go into creating more projects. Even writing a paper is more of a student as creator than reading work and then just being tested over it. This is from the Horizon Report. Campus libraries increasingly host services that support creativity and production. And we are no exception to that. We have makerspace in the basement. We have the Writing Center. We have One Stop, where if you're interested in your students doing a video in the classroom, we have camcorders, iPads, tripods, cameras, anything you could need. Well, you say, fine, you've got the stuff I need, but what if I don't know how to make a movie? No problem, because we've also got the Learning Commons, and that's where I come in. I can come into your classroom when you're explaining your project. I can help you by doing workshops about how to use different editing platforms. I can do workshops about how to plan a story or plan a video, depending on what type of video that you're going to do. I like to work with the faculty to figure out what they need from me and then turn that around and provide support to your students afterwards so that as they're actually editing their videos, they can come in to me and I can help them with little things that come up. Because it's really overwhelming if I come in and say, here's how to use iMovie in 40 minutes. None of us would be able to remember all that. Things always come up. I've been working with faculty and students from elementary school through undergrads through graduate students creating videos in their classrooms for 15 years. It's gotten a lot easier. I'm going to show you examples as we go forth. The first one I'm going to show you is a movie trailer. Some of you will be familiar with it. iMovie has a really cool feature, the movie trailers, and it kind of has a storyboard all laid out, and then you just go in and fill things out. We did this one when we were doing our orientation a few years ago, and this is for the Learning Commons.
Hi, my name is Cynthia.
Not both of them.
Hi.
Sorry about that. So much for my fancy. It's just a soundtrack. Have a trip down memory lane, doesn't it? I used to show that to parents when they brought students to school for their orientations. And then we talk about what your student needs to be successful at Fort Hays State with their technology. And we would say, we're here to support your student. One of the things we always said is if they bring a brand new computer to campus, we're one of the first places they should stop because we'll get all the junk off of it. The other video that I'm going to show you is a professional video, and this is a teacher education student.
Hi, my name is Surisa Cabral, and I am majoring in elementary education. I am currently a senior here at Fort Hays State University. One of my strengths that will make me an outstanding professional educator is the patience and passion that I have for this profession. Difference and diversity is what our world is shifting to, and I am a great example of difference. I come from a different but increasingly comic ethnic background. As I was growing up, my first language was Spanish, not English, and the first years of school were very difficult for me. Since I have lived the experience of being different, I can relate to students who are in the same situation. Every time a student has difficulty in school, whether they are from a different background or not, or a task that seems too difficult, I try to help them as much as possible and let them know that diversity should be celebrated.
So you can see those were both made with iMovie, and for very different purposes. One was to sort of advertise a service. The other one was for her to put into a digital portfolio for future educators, or I mean for future employers. When we go towards a maker culture, sometimes we just think about Legos or robots or airplanes or the things they do in makerspace. But it goes much deeper than that. It's a learning by doing, and that includes making a movie. One of the things that we like to kind of emphasize that people do if they're going to use a movie is have students, they know the material, you've been teaching the material, they're experienced with the material. Have them use it in a new and different way that has them going beyond just showing you they understand, but showing you they can evaluate it, synthesize it, and then create something with it. Average 200,000 new videos are uploaded to YouTube each year, and that was in 2013, so it's probably more now. It seems like iMovie is still the platform of choice right now. I think that's going to be changing and shifting, but almost every time when I help a student do an iMovie, the next thing they want to know is how can I make a YouTube video? And so I always go a little bit into that. Ways that you can think about using video is to summarize or reflect on concepts that have been taught. As a social commentary, you can do a PSA. We have a group right now that I'm working with that are doing a video about a school that they're raising funds for in Mexico, I believe. Professor will be here a little bit later. You could do a time-lapse video. You could do a stop-motion video. Video profiles that, like you saw, elevator speeches, or video course trailers. I'm thinking about doing some video course trailers for my digital literacy class coming up this spring because I think it'd be a fun way to show the students that I like to play around with the tools as well. The first video, I think the first one that we'll show, was done for a PSA for Janice campaign, and this was last year with a group of Comm Studies kids. Powerful, isn't it? I was amazed at what they did. I had shown them some examples of things that could be done, and they had a list of criteria that Janice's campaign wanted, and they had to make a 90-second one, and then they had to make one that was 30 seconds so they could be used for different purposes. And they really blew me away with that video. And these were group projects, and they happened to use a little bit of WeVideo and a little bit of iMovie, kind of a combination. The next one I'm going to show you, we won't watch the whole thing because it's kind of long, but Dr. Ward does some videos for recruitment of international students. He does them, they're called A Day in the Life of, and this one I believe is A Day in the Life of an International Student. And this is one example of them. The thing you need to remember here, and I'm going to talk about it I think in the next slide, is you're going for good quality. You're not going for professional quality. If you want your students to do professional quality, you're going to be frustrated and they won't want to do it because that's really asking a little bit too much. I don't even think the ones I do are always professional quality, but I'm not trying to be a professional. These were posted to YouTube and also to a Korean version of YouTube. And a lot of them, this one doesn't have them, but a lot of them had subtitles. Tyler, that works in the basement, his group did one that it was spoken in Chinese, but then had English subtitles, which was an interesting way to do it. She has a little bit long intro here, but it is beautiful. Congrats.
Hello everyone, my name is Kang Kai. I'm from Xi'an, China. I'm a senior student at Forsyth State University. In China, my major is economic law, and in his, my major is accounting. I really like the history and landscape of Forsyth State University. Welcome more and more students come here to travel or study. Working in the Forsyth State University, I found that people living here are very friendly and communicative. Everyone is smiling to you, saying hi, wishing you have a good day, and asking if you need help, especially in school. I like being such a...
Okay. As you can tell with that one, she's trying to give a feeling of, I was able to assimilate here. I like it. The people are friendly. You can get around campus easily. And that's really important because a lot of our international students are very unsure. I mean, we've met so many of them here in the library when they come over. So that was a really neat project. He's doing it again next semester, but we weren't working on it this semester. So when you're thinking about goals for learning, you want them to be deeper than just give me a movie about... Give me a topic. Give me a movie about the space program, or give me, something where they're just explaining what they know. You want to make it a little more deep. And one thing that I did in my classes when I gave this assignment was I chose decades, and I had several other TAs, and so we gave out decades. And along with the decades, they had tongue depressor sticks with different events that happened during those decades. The students each got one. They could trade them. Didn't matter. Then they had to go out and go to the Library of Congress digital images files. And this was when that was about the only place you could get them, those archival files. They were told to get pictures, to get journal entries, whatever they could find, and to read up on that historical topic. Then they had to come up with a story told from the point of view of a person that lived then. It could be about any aspect of that event. And I'll show you one a little bit later that one of my students did on the riots in Watts. And like I said, try for good, not professional. Keep it brief. 2 to 3 minutes of these videos is plenty. For every 1 minute of video that you're going to edit, it's going to take you about 2 hours to edit. And anybody that's worked with video editing, even when you're doing a screen capture for a tutorial, it takes forever to edit it to get it just perfect. And that's where I come in. That's when a lot of students will come in and say, I've got this soundtrack, but I can't hear the voice. We talk about that. We also talk about that in the classroom when I'm introducing it. I'll say, if you're going to record, iPhones are what most people record with right now. And they have a better camera than some of the videos that you've seen so far. But you have to think about using them leaned up against something or some type of a tripod to make it steady. So I talk about that in depth. If you're going to record someone speaking, you have to be pretty close if this is what you're using. The other thing I recommend is they take the video and then they do a voiceover. And that works out really well for a lot of the projects. Another movie trailer, but this one's with a social message.
Hello?
Now before I play the next one, I'm going to go back. There we go. You see the bottom one? Follow and teach about copyright. Those images, they didn't show anywhere where they got the images. So that's another important thing. I won't work with a faculty member or a group of students if they will not follow copyright and use Creative Commons licensed materials. Andy's the same way. We talk about them, we give them the resources, we show the students how to get them. You can get soundtracks, you can get images, video clips, all sorts of stuff at creativecommons.org. And it shows you right on the site how to cite them at the end. And you can cite them, and then you have to make sure they're licensed in such a way that you can change their format and alter it in some way. You saw that one, so. This one is, the next one is the one from the student about the Watts riots. And I just want to say she was not born in the United States. She moved here as a young girl.
August 11, 1965. It was so hot that day, almost 94 degrees. It was a long day too. I was working a 12-hour shift. About 6 p.m. I was making my way towards Watts. I saw a red car make a wide turn. Just then, a black man pulled up next to me and told me the driver of that car was drunk. So I went after him. I pulled the man over. His name was Marquette Fry. After giving him a field sobriety test, I knew he was definitely drinking. It would have all been fine had his mother not started any trouble. She was screaming at him, got him all upset. And after we apprehended him, she jumped on my back. His brother was also arrested for interfering with Marquette's arrest. But we were all gone before the rioting began. When we came back to the scene, there was a large crowd of very angry people. It had turned ugly. The rioters were throwing rocks and huge chunks of concrete at us. We were trying to calm everyone down, but then 3 of my buddies were injured. They were hit by chunks of concrete. After this happened, we had to take action. We started clearing people out using batons. It was the only way to make them stand down. It was craziness, man. I remember pulling a woman out of her car. Her windows were smashed. There was this man with a terrible neck cut. There were buildings being burned and destroyed. It looked like a war zone. People were shooting. Windows of stores were smashed. Things were being stolen. The riots lasted 5 days. The governor tried to set a curfew to calm things down. Even the National Guard was called in to help. But the damage had definitely already been done. 34 people were killed. Some were officers and guards, but mostly civilians. 1,000 others were injured. $40 million of damage was sustained due to the riots. I've been asked 10 million times if I would do anything differently. I would do exactly what I did at the time.
That was done in 2005, and she was a freshman. These were teacher education students, and as I worked with them every year and changed this project around, it struck me that, boy, if I had learned history that way, you know, I might have been a totally different kind of teacher, because I just think learning the stories, they had to be based in fact. They didn't have to be completely factual. You could make up a character, but she didn't. That actually was a story that she found that happened. But it was, you know what? I know that that student learned about that incident and was able to tell a story. There's no way that you, but when you're evaluating these things, the actual production and the video quality and stuff, you grade on that, but the biggest portion of the grading is on the content, because that's what you're teaching, is the content. So you don't want to get lost in that. This is an after-action review I'm going to show you part of. This is another one that Dr. Ward sent me just this last week. This is some of his graduate students, and it's a totally different way to use video.
Hi, my name is Anita Dunklin, and this video is an after-action review of our team project entitled Swedish Market Product Launch. As you know, an after-action review, also known as an AAR, is a debriefing process that analyzes 3 questions. What was expected to happen, what actually happened, and what lessons were learned following an event such as a meeting or project. This video answers all of those questions, as well as provides insights into Team 2's meeting structure, writing, revising, and editing process, lessons learned from Dr. Ward's audio and video podcast, and finally, resolution of any team dysfunction. Before I tell you about how our meetings were structured, let me introduce the other members of Team 2. First, there's Pat Adamson. Pat will discuss what the team thought would happen prior to our first meeting.
I'm not gonna.
He will also
jump up
discuss
just a
some of the
little bit.
lessons. Also agreed that document editing would be done in Google Drive so that everyone.
But they go
has
through
access
this
to
whole
the
thing,
file.
and they've got different students
Once the drafts were
speaking.
done, one team member would then format the final Word document and PowerPoint presentation. We also agreed that any additional communication in
Back down to my PowerPoint. Yes. But that's another way to use video. I've had a lot of teachers here at Fort Hays use video as an introduction, especially when they have virtual students and on-campus students. People give a video introduction about, this is who I am, here's what I hope to get from the class, that type of thing. And it really, you tend to learn the students' names and learn a little bit more about them if you're seeing them virtually. Other professors I've talked to like to use the video as a way to respond to student emails and student questions, especially virtual, because it gives you more of a connection with your online students because they see you. Blackboard Collaborate works really well for that as well. That's what they've used in other colleges that I've worked with. Now there's, I love this because it's just how students, when they hear about a project like this, they're like, yeah. Well, that's when, if you've done things, if you really thought it through, that's where I come in. Because they feel a little bit more able to take on the project when they know they can stop into my office at any point and say, I cannot remember how you told me to trim a clip, or how do I make the audio softer, or how do I export this? My teacher wants it in YouTube. Here's some things you can do with microblogging. Microblogging is when you do very small, microblogging is like Twitter, 140 characters. Well, you can do that with video. You can do Vine videos. We tried for a long time to figure out how to use a Vine video at the library. We have not come up with an idea yet. My Learning Commons kids have tried. Instagram, which we're going to be starting here very soon, and Hyperlapse is a new one. And I have a couple of examples that I want to share with you. These are fun. This bottom one with the little minion guy, this was done by one of my graduate students. It's a digital literacy class, and we're learning about different ways that you can analyze the message that you send when you create media. And I wanted them to, they went through and said how they use in a lesson, but then I wanted them to play with it. Because a lot of times if it's a no pressure way of doing it at the beginning, then they're a little more apt to enjoy it. And that's all an iPhone app that you simply take pictures and move things. It's very simple to do. The one up here, if you ever cannot find my office,
Activated animated dimension.
I didn't make that with WeVideo. I know, it's kind of creepy. That was a soundtrack I put with it. It really doesn't have sound. But that's hyperlapse, and all you do is open it. It's made by Instagram. Click on it and walk. So I could see a walking tour of campus, you know, or if you just want to show somebody a little bit of something, it works out great. I want to show you an example of a vine. And those of you that watch viral videos, you've probably seen this one before, but this is one of my favorites.
Is it dogs sitting on cats? Oh.
No, it's, did you see?
Yeah. Grab it.
Because Vine videos are a stop motion video. You do it the same way. And then what was really cool is the Today Show had somebody on it that showed you exactly how to do that. So that's another kind of fun way that you can use video. And you know, why not put something like that in your lecture? Just to liven things up and to maybe introduce a topic. And it's all about that app. It all boils down to what are you going to use to do your video. I used to get so caught up in this when I would go into a classroom that I had to know, are you using Windows? Are you using iMovie? Which one are you using? Well, 90% of the time, the professors, what they thought they were using were wrong, because these kids have come out of high school and they used Macs and iMovie in high school. So even if they use a PC all other times of the year, you'll see a lot of them find a Mac to bring in to use iMovie. And that's great. iMovie costs. Windows Movie Maker. It's another good one. Final Cut Pro. But the new one that I want to show you that I'm really excited about is called, man, I sound like Steve Jobs there, didn't I? It's called WeVideo, and they can get to it right from their Gmail accounts. I should have been logged in, I apologize. WeVideo is a, I'm just going to do my regular one, but it'll be the same. WeVideo is an online, very robust video editing program that you can invite more than one person to, so you can actually collaborate on a video project. Oh man. Yeah, let's see if this is, one more time and then I'll go to the other one. Yay. All right. This is my personal email, so bear with me. Up here at the grid, you click on the grid and you go to Google Drive. Then you go to Create. Now, if you don't have WeVideo on there, go down to Connect More Apps and type in WeVideo. I happen to have it. And this is what I'm using to work with some comm studies students this semester. I'm not going to go through how to use it, I just want to show it to you. If I go into my untitled video and edit it, you could also start a new one. You can upload video clips to this, you can upload pictures, soundtracks. Can't even remember what that is, so I'll just get rid of it. If I can bring down my video, it's very simple. It has 3 different ways that you can edit. You can edit storyboard, which you just drag your clips in order. Then you can put a title and you can put transitions. You can also do it with a simple timeline, which just gives you voiceover, audio, and one video screen. What's really cool is on this one, you know the call-outs that we always have trouble with in Camtasia? You can do call-outs here, and I won't edit this right now, but you can just bring them in, make them as small as you want, auto adjust. I could change the color if I wanted to. I can then move it around if it'll let me. I won't worry about it right now. Where's your grandma? Wyatt. We won't go into that because he starts talking about grandpa. You can also, it has a more advanced timeline, and you can export up to 15 minutes in a free version. The paid version is like $5 a month. So if you do a lot of video editing, I have professors that have bought the paid version and then give their students the login and they all start their own project. They also then give me access, so if they have a problem, they can Google chat me or whatever, I can go in and help them with their editing. So this is really cool. Comes with our, it's free with our Google apps, and it's one of the new ways that I'm seeing students using video in the classroom. Any questions? I'm now in room 115, if anybody hasn't noticed. You have a question for me, Deb?
Well, I had 3.
Great. Great.
How many students do you end up working with? Do you have any, just like, I know it's not
I've
sort of a
worked
gut
with
feeling,
300 to
but-
400 a semester so far. In an average class, it really depends. The Comm Studies class that I'm working with right now only has 6. I have worked with 3 sections of the business class and had close to 60 students.
And here's my librarian question. At the end, when these videos are completed, you've got a few of them that you captured, but what happens to them?
Well, that's kind of up to the student. If they're on YouTube, I have a lot more than this. I just didn't have permission to show them. But if a professor wants to show them later, they have to get permission. You have to get written permission. I think it'd be great if we archived some of them. That's one thing, you know, that's something I could definitely talk with faculty about as they move forward, because I'm sure students would be more than happy to have their videos live on.
Well, I was just thinking it's neat for if you're going for a job interview, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
Point. Here's my work. And the third question I had then is, you mentioned Todd. How did the two of you work together? And
I mentioned who?
Pardon?
Who did I mention?
Todd, not Todd.
Oh, Skip.
Ward?
No. Gosh, I hate this part of my brain.
That's okay.
Andy, thank you.
Andy. Oh, how do Andy? Okay.
How do you work with CTEL? Do you do some projects together, or do you generally?
One thing that we do together is some of our live stream events. I do the live stream part, so I bring my computer and answer the chat questions, and he does the videoing. And we do that like with Tiger Series, and we've done it with some SGA meetings and things like that. I don't know if it'll stay that way, but that's the way it's been working right now. Another thing that we do is, I've gone to him many, many times on, I'm learning Final Cut Pro. And he has more advanced skills than me, as does Ron Rolfe over in informatics. And so there's all different levels on campus of help you can get. I'm the beginning part. I have more advanced skills, but I'm helping students that sometimes it's their first video, or they're doing a video and they've only been given 2 weeks, that kind of thing. But yeah, Andy and I have a lot of the same interests professionally, so I bounce ideas off of him quite a bit.
And then when are we going to do the library dance video?
I have wanted to do a flash mob, but I'm waiting for Chris because he's singing lead.
Wait a while. You want to hear that.
But
Those former debaters just can't say.
yes.
That is right.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for coming.
See you all.
So, Yeah, one year I did, we did video, or those little movies for every department in the library, remember? Those were on the LibGuide that was iLibrary. It was a orientation, and you had to go around with your QR code and screen it. Another thing that I think is really interesting that I need to learn more about is augmented reality. And the reason I'm interested is because I have an app on my phone called Arisma, and I could walk up, let's say, to a book or a display, and if it was set up with the right thing to scan, a video would come out, and I could watch a video on that, piece of literature or that map or that display. And I think Patty and I could do some really cool things. Another thing we've been working on is then now pictures, and Patty's got some really neat pictures of how Fort Hays looked, years and years ago, and I'm going to go out and retake the photograph in modern day and then merge the two together. And I have a friend of mine who teaches social studies, and he's done this with Gettysburg battles. That's where he teaches, so he's done a lot of those kind of pictures. So we're looking at doing some of that.
I think I mentioned to you too, and I know I shared this with Gordon Carlson, but the Union has a neat sort of display where you can go in with your smartphone and you can point the camera at certain sensors, and then it takes a picture of the real environment around you, but then superimposes historical events and so
Very
forth
cool.
on top of it. Yeah.
There's something else that is coming. I can't remember. I think it's in admissions, and it'll look like an iPad, but when students come to visit, they'll be able to go up. Have you ever seen on the Today Show where they have that iPad where celebrities go up and take a selfie with people on? Well, you can go up and take a selfie, but it'll have the Fort Hays State brand and and then you tweet it. So then they're getting people to tweet our Fort Hays State account that they were here visiting, and so it's a really cool marketing tool. I had asked them about one, but they only do one at a university, and they had admissions beat me to it because I asked about having one here. And did y'all know I'm going to see Garth later?
Yeah.
I haven't telling anybody this. Yes.
With me and my hearing impairment, have you ever worked with closed captioning on videos?
Actually, YouTube has closed captioning, but another thing that we have done quite a bit when I go out and work with students is we talk to them about actually doing a transcript and then uploading the PDF of the transcript with the video.
Okay.
Because for especially like the one with the young lady who's speaking with an accent and a very soft voice, a lot of people would not be able to hear that, and so that was when I suggested they do a transcript, because they had a script when they did the video, so it's a perfect time to do it. Yes?
I'm just full of questions.
That's okay.
Have you ever, or have we ever offered any just open workshops? I'm thinking how
We
the
have,
makerspace
they
has
were not
sort of
well
a-
attended,
Okay.
but I was just talking with a few people this morning. I'd like to do kind of mini workshops for like a half an hour and pick different times of the day to see when I could get people to come. Do a mini one on how to take better iPhone photos. Do a mini one on how to, do a quick edit of a movie trailer in iMovie. Some of the things that you can teach in just a half hour, and just see if we can at least get students buzzing about it. They want to be the next YouTube star, so why not give them the skills? Carolyn, you had a question.
I'm trying to get in front of Dad.
I know it's hard, but
Do you have any idea from the student's perspective of how much time they put into doing one of these?
Well, like I said, for every minute, it's about 2 hours of editing time. And from the students that I've talked to, like that did the Janice campaign one, it was definitely that long, if not longer. But they all said that they ended up learning so much because they had to do so much research for it in order to really decide what the concept was going to be for their video and how they wanted to portray it.
That's what I'm talking about, the whole process.
I used to give my students a month to do them, but
Okay.
that's because 1 week I would check on their script. The next week I would check on their storyboard, which had all the shots they were going to take. The next week we would upload all the material, and then the last week, well, we don't have that kind of time usually here. But if you give them time, and if I'm working in the background helping them, then you can go on about your classwork and keep your lessons moving on. I can work with the technical side of things. I like to be a partner.
Me and Brian made a video.
Brian and I.
Brian and I made a video.
I'm in the library. All right. Brian and I made a video. He was really kind and helped me out with a senior project in my high school. And it took us an entire semester of nonstop, pretty much just every day working on this video. It ended up being 45 minutes long, but it was going to be used year after year after we got finished with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing a 45-minute long video project in your class, but I bet you were part of an organization at your school.
It was one class. I was the only student, and this was the project that they gave me.
Yeah, so that was like your all-semester project, so that's
there it
great.
is. Yep.
And you learned a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet you know a lot
of late
I'll bet
nights.
when students come up and they have editing questions, you guys can answer them.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
I helped junior high school students make slide tape presentations. There you go.
That's how I got started, Deb. When I was,
It was the 70s.
junior in high school,
What's that?
I had an English professor that had us pick a song and then go out and take pictures and then show it together. And I did signs everywhere there's signs. That was my first. Then we got to retell a children's story tale and add music and voices to it. And that hooked me. I knew from that moment on I wanted to be a teacher.
So there's hope I could move into more advanced skills.
We had some do that. I've got a really good friend that I went to high school with that's a casting director. Used to be on the show Frasier. So, anything else?
Cynthia,
And if you're watching this, please feel free to give me a call or just stop by my office. And there's my contact information. Thank you.
Yes.